Sorry about that, guys. The internet dipped. Ugh. We were doing alright for a while. We haven't had it dip in weeks. Ugh. I still don't know what the problem is. And if it's, because it started dipping, I ended up finishing the track we was on. So I'll show you. I did this whole thing talking about how I was so super into the hype cycle for it as well. Because I was. That now got lost because it was just, I didn't realize that the last 30 seconds were gone. That, like, for the 10-year development of the game, I was, like, hunting every single info on it for, like, 5 years straight, and every single trade I had this track, so it was super nostalgic for me. That all went, oh well, let's carry on. I bet it's gonna be the only track. They did Gladio main theme. We're gonna do like the Prompto main theme later, I'm guessing. We're not gonna do like the battle theme with Gladio. We're not gonna do like the extra tracks in the city for Ignis sort of thing. Which is fine. It's like with how big of a soundtrack it is. Obviously they can't get everything in. There'll probably only be like 1 or 2 royal tracks. Oh, hey one man, internet dipped. And you know what that's like? It dips for even a second, it cuts off the whole fucking stream. Well, the few big reasons why I really wish I had a capture card. Because I feel like if it dipped for even a split second, and it was off the capture card to stream, we'd probably not lose the stream. I feel. If it was more than a few seconds, then sure, but if it's only like a second, it probably wouldn't cut it off. Whilst it feels like it just kind of disconnects when it's on PlayStation. Finished finally. Hey! Which video is that one for, of your Trails game videos? Is that one of the music ones, or is that one of the reviews? Like the sequel? For the OST ranking. Oh. Instead of putting it off. And to be fair, yeah. Ranking the soundtrack, especially if you actually love the whole soundtrack, is insanely difficult. Well, I forgot how tragic Ignis is. Well, Ignis' whole DLC is pretty tragic as well, considering the events, but still. The theme is so... Over 50 tracks, yeah. Yeah, it's why I'm glad I don't do that. Because if I did that, I said Final Fantasy 15 has, like, a little under 300 tracks. Trying to make me pick a favourite track, I'm like, I would show you the door. Has conditions to hate? I don't know, dude. I know. What else we got? We got Somnus, Home. Okay, episode Prompto, and okay, we'll get to that later. We'll get 60% higher critical. Once I'm done ranking for Cold Steel 1-4, I'm not doing full track ranking. Yeah, you've stressed yourself out enough of them. I don't blame you. I'd love to do like OST rankings for Final Fantasy games, but some of the soundtracks are way too big, and I'm like, no. I think I'd get about as far as Final Fantasy 6, and I'd start to struggle, because 6 is when the soundtrack starts to blow up in like size and like amount of good tracks. I would throw a special shout out to Zozo though, if I ever did 6. That track is so fucking weird, yet it's perfect for the town it plays in. Because it's a town where every single person only talks in lies. And once you realize that, like, you have to, for everything that you're told in that village, you have to think the opposite to figure out what's going on. So the fact that, like, literally every single person in that town is conditioned to only tell lies and never tell the truth. The town having a weird as fuck theme makes sense. And I kind of love it because of that. It's like, I give a special shout out to that. I hope it's... I don't think it is, because it's such a weird and out there theme, but I kind of hope it made the cut for FF6. I may do individual tracks. Yeah, and that's probably a better way of doing it. Something else I would like to do maybe at some point is like top 10 battle themes, but like only the battle themes, and I've like throughout the Final Fantasy series. So it's like, what are my favourite just normal battle themes, and then do another one. It's like, what's my favourite just the normal boss themes, not counting the major bosses or event bosses. Then what's my favourite major and event bosses? Then what are my favourite final bosses? Because some of them would be entirely different. Final Fantasy X, its normal battle theme would be really high on the list, and then its boss theme like probably wouldn't even make the list. I think that would be fun to do. But if I was going to do that, I'd want an easier way to access the audio for each track, for each game. Without just having to download tracks online or whatever. I'm not considering Receive and Bite You. If you're going to talk about Receive and Bite You, you don't have to talk about every single remix, but I would talk about the original as well, and then show like how, in contrast to the original, this one makes it work in different ways, sort of thing. Because Bite You's the Yakuza 4 mix, isn't it? Because Slash U is 5. I think I was intended. So we got defeat Ifrit, 2 or more chests, and beat the boss in 25 seconds. Let's see what items we got first. Oh god, okay. Who's... No, I'll let Furion have some extra health. Free magic, 480, 555. Okay, you can have 2. And I'll let you have the last one, because I want you to be my strongest magic. Everyone's spirit's around the same, so I'll let Lightning have it. Lightning's my speed demon, so she can have that as well. And Luck is on Krell. Welcome, just Chef's Kiss. Have I got any new summons? Oh, I got a number of them. Any even worth a damn? No, not really. Welcome from 6. Accompanied by Majimas, yeah. So of all the, because I got a thing when we went, I'm saying I've got all the airships. You've got the original from 1, the Invincible from 3, the Enterprise and Lunar Rail from 4, the Blackjack and Falcon from 6, the Highwind from 7, the Ragnarok from 8, the Hildegard from 9, the Prima Vista from 9, the Fahrenheit from 10, the Strahl from 12, the Enterprise from 14, and the Guardian Type F from 15, and the Setzer from 0. Oh no, I know how to say it. I know how to say Kyodai easily. Ikude, Kyodai. Yeah, I'm not gonna butcher the Japanese language on stream. It's only when I'm reading a word that I don't understand, or something I will. It's just I'm not gonna butcher a word that's not in my language, or like, I'll go out of my way to if I can help it. Anyway, boss in 25 seconds. Let's do Prompto theme. I'm struggling with that. Yeah, I know, dude. I appreciate it. I do, because you know, sometimes when it's my dyslexia hard kicking in, and then you come in like giving me the pronunciation breakdown, it genuinely really helps. Because it's basically what my teachers would have done when I was a kid. Oh yes, Prompto's DLC, the weird one in the middle of the 3 DLCs. Because Gladios is like an arcade beat-em-up run. Ignis is super, like, imperative to the story. Prompto is important for his character, but it's also a third-person shooter, so you're kind of like, huh? What's this fucking Dirge of Cerberus BS we're back in? But, you know, just actually somewhat fun. Oh, speaking of Prompto though, when I was doing my trophy grind, that had one of the more annoying trophies. Figuring out how to beat Noctis in Ignis' DLC was a fun challenge. Figuring out how to get 1,000,000 points in score attack in Gladiolus' a fun challenge. You had to basically parry your way through it. Prompto, there is no fucking helping you with the bobsled missions. You just gotta either do it or you don't. So it took forever. I got them done, but like, oh god, never again, because they control like arse as well. The bobsled does not control even remotely fucking well. Like, I'm glad the Arden episode kind of did away with it. The only gimmick was your score for Chapter 3. You did the 2 intro chapters, and then Chapter 3 was just, hey, how many of the towers are you going to mess with before you go for the end? And I'll never beat the score challenge for that. I want to at some point, because it's one of the only, like, 3 trophies I'm missing. It's, Arden, get the rank run of Arden, the, final boss of Conrad's, and, get like 80 or 85% of the records, which I'm pretty close on my Let's Play save. So I just need to like I just have to fire up a guide and find the ones around the open world. All the ones in scripted areas I have. The acoustics, yeah. Bad condition to hate. Yeah, we'll see. Some of these tracks, I imagine there's a couple tracks they couldn't get a hold of because technically they don't own it. Like with the Arden tracks, like I said, a number of them were done by Lotus Juice. Only one of them has his vocals in, but it's like, you know what I mean, maybe there's like something there that like gets awkward that they might not be able to have it in because of licensing. But we'll see. But this game having as many tracks as it is, and the fact that all the DLC is having tracks from other franchises in it, the amount of licensing they would have had to have gone through to make this happen, even though Square owns all of them, would have been insane. Especially considering they have Smash Bros. Remixes in this game. Some of the Deluxe Edition tracks are literally the Smash Bros. Remixes. Like, they have, like, the Smash Bros. Remix of Aeris Fiend. They have the Smash Bros. Remix of Cosmo Canyon. Shit like that. That wouldn't have been easy to, like, organize. I noticed that Square technically owns it, but, you know, it's still for a Nintendo property, and it was a Nintendo, like, established remix sort of thing. That still would have had things to go through. We can... No, they do. They have, the Smash Bros. Remix of some of the Final Fantasy tracks. Not many, because it was all only for Final Fantasy 7, since, you know, only Cloud and Sephiroth made it to Smash, but still. Oh, fucking Hellfire's coming up. That's not going to be the whole track, but that's cool. So, 13, 14, 15, 16... Crash to Final Fantasy. Ooh. So, these two, that's Hellfire. After that would probably be Arden. So, what are those last two, then? Let's do, the game's title screen. Yeah, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Well, Smash Bros. 4 had Cloud, and then Ultimate, through DLC, eventually added Sephiroth. But when they added Sephiroth, they actually, Nintendo remixed tracks. They made their own remixes. And some of those remixes are in this. They don't say from Smash Bros. They just say something like third-party remixes, but when you hear it, you're like, yeah, it's the Smash Bros. Tracks, got it. Oh, it's the vocal version of Somnus. I was kind of expecting the violin to creep in. That plays during the final dungeon. When you return to Insomnia at the very end of the game. It's a very beautiful track. I kind of prefer the instrumental personally, but it's still a very beautiful track. Especially because when this plays in the game, you've probably already figured out how it's going to end. You already know how it's going to end, so it feels like the tragic final step before the journey's end. You know what needs to happen to vanquish Arden once and for all, and end the darkness of the everlasting night. All that tragic track, just da 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 da. Alright, and then afterwards, what was the last one on this block? Dance of Silver and Crimson. Oh, this is your episode Arden track. This plays when you're playing as Arden and you're fighting against King Regis, right? So no Lotus Juice track. We at least get one of the rock tracks. At least I'm guessing they were not going to get Condition to Hate, because I think we would have got it by now. Yeah, this is absolutely the boss theme when you're fighting King Somnus near the end of DLC, before you fight your brother. I want to live in the timeline where the other DLC has got to happen. Where we got episode Aranea, episode Lunafreya, and episode Noctis. Because I really loved where episode Arden was going, and what it was setting up. That just never got to get finished, because once again, 15 couldn't stop getting dealt shit hands, no matter how hard it tried. Great point. Alright. Thankfully this track's great too. But I want to live in the world where FF15 got the time it needed, and episode Arden was actually the intro to the game. Imagine if Chapter 1 was you played as Arden, and then Chapter 2 was, you know, the boys on the road several decades later. That would, like, oh, come on, that would have been such a cool cold open, to just play as the villain and get that glimmer. But because it'd be sort of like, they'd probably, like, change things a few things they've done it that way, to make it less, to have less context. But it still would have been sick. And then, like, you know, the Gladiolus bit was just a chapter in the game and not a separate episode you have to go to do. During the Leviathan fight, like, you alternate perspectives to what Ignis was up to during the Chaos as well. Might not be Condition to Hate, but it's still a badass track. I we did beat Ifrit during that, nice. Oh, we get the Arden deflecting his brother at the end of the episode card. That's cool. Alright, time for Hellfire. It's not going to be the whole track. This track is way too long for it to be the whole thing. It'll probably be just the whole first verse. It won't be all three verses in the ending. There's no chance in hell. Which is funny I'm saying no chance in hell, because we're basically going to hell, and the track's called Hellfire. Dun dun dun. Wait for it. The build up. Yeah, so far it's just the opening side of the track. This track is like 6 or 7-ish minutes long. And I'll make my own condition to hate. Yeah, the track ends there, because now we're going to verse 2, so yeah, it's just one verse in the chorus, I gathered. That's a shame, I get it. It's a long-ass track, but once again, I would have liked it if they did the whole thing. Hey Toast, hope you're doing well. I'm doing good. We had a bit of an internet dip, which is why there's like a point, like 0.5, but I'm currently just vibing, enjoying this really, really fun rhythm game. Wait, it's like hand-tailored to me. I love Final Fantasy and I love rhythm games, and it's a Final Fantasy rhythm game. But it's good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. As we do now do the final boss. Enemies have triple HP. I saw that game. Thanks to for the challenge. And we get to listen to the pure beauty of Yoko Shimomura's work. I wonder if it'll be the whole track or just phase 1. How does HP work? Every character has stats and aggressions, and they basically attack and use skills as they go. You only take damage from enemies' attacks, ignoring poison, if you miss a beat. You can be inflicted with status conditions, which will affect how well your characters perform. Like, you can be turned to stone, for example. Like right now, we're poisoned, so in the bottom right, you can see that blue bar is ticking down a little bit. That's our health. That hits 0, we're done for. But it won't, because one of my characters is a healer, so we'll heal up as and when. To be able to use your magic and skills, though, you have to hit so many critical beats, which is basically like hitting perfect. Like, if you have Fire-Eager, they won't be able to use it unless you get, say, 20 beats in a row. But that will only be 20 on easy mode. It'll be like 40 on normal, 60 on hard, etc, etc. Which you'd think that'd mean to beat bosses, or whoops, I fucked that one up, play on easier difficulties, but you get less notes, so it kind of balances out. You still get the bonuses around the same times in the track. And you level up your characters by playing well. You can get experience eggs and whatnot. When you hit level 99, you start going into star levels, where your stats get way higher if you can hit it, but it's a hell of a grind to get there. Like, I was playing all day yesterday, even off stream, and now I've been playing it on stream today, and I'm only at star level 3 now, of 9. Even though we hit level 99 pretty dang quick. And the controls are really simple. Any button whatsoever that you choose for the red and greens, just green you hold. And then the direction is just any direction that it asks for on either stick. And it only looks at cardinal directions. So if there's a diagonal, if it's diagonal bottom right, you can press down or right and it will count. Like for this example, I can just press up for all of these and it will count. They only care about cardinal directions. Like, it's very, like, beginner-friendly and, like, doesn't require that much precision. Well, the notes have to be precise, but what buttons you press is up to you. You just press whatever. And then when it's 2 beats, it's just whatever 2 buttons you want to press. Also, I want to appreciate that it's literally the entirety of the final boss theme they're playing for this track. Usually they cut these things down. But it's literally the whole final boss theme that's played. All 3 phases, including, like, the really dramatic story final phase. Which is a beautiful track. Once again, I'm asking Square, don't make 15 the only time Yoko Shimomura makes a soundtrack for a Final Fantasy game, please. She did a phenomenal job with this game's OST. I'm happy Soken's doing FF16, don't get me wrong, but please let this lady do one more. At least one more. The 3 parts would just sit there for 15 minutes. Oh, Dancing Mad? I don't know, I haven't done FF6 tracks. I heavily doubt it'll be the full thing. Because it would be a very brutal challenge by length alone to perfect. A lot of tracks that would usually be super long, you only do a part of it. This is why I was kind of surprised with doing the whole thing, because we literally just came off of Hellfire, where we only did the first verse and first chorus. We didn't do the second or third verse, or the ending. Yeah, I knew what you meant, don't worry, dude. Yeah, no, I don't know if you have to do the full 17.5 minutes of that. I heavily doubt it, though. It'll probably either just be the final phase, or just the first phase. Probably just the final phase, because that's more of Kefka's actual theme. Oh, the main theme of Final Fantasy? Then what's the last track? If this is the main theme of FF, what's the last track of this? Because when you do the series quest, they tend to do them in story order. All the tracks in the series. So this is the penultimate. This is when the last one is literally just the song that Florence and the Machine sung. It's just Stand By Me, the Frontier Machine version that they use for the game. And that's what they make the last track. That'd be funny. That would stop this video from staying up on YouTube very quick. This is a short-ish mix of the Final Fantasy main theme, if I recall. It's just for the ending scene, where you see Noctis and Lunafreya in heaven, now fully refined adults getting to spend the rest of eternity together. And it's when you see like grown up Noctis without the beard for the first time and realise he's like the handsomest motherfucker in the world. Like it's like you get rid of like the hobo beard and it's like man, this guy is so hot. Fantasy games, never played 7 Remake, and the first few hours of 10. Oh, jeez. Well, the Pixel remasters are coming to console soon, so 1 through to 6 will very soon be available. 7's a good place to start as well, although G7's had already done that. 8's a little grindy, so I kind of discourage that a little bit. So's 9, even though 9's got a very iconic story, and is super traditional fantasy. It can be kind of grindy. 10 super story driven and easier to get into. 10-2 10-2 is good. The only problem with 10-2 is if you're trying to go for the true ending. Then the game becomes a nightmare because there's so... If you just happen to, I don't know, circle the map clockwise instead of counterclockwise, you miss out on like 6 things that stop you getting the true ending. 9's the best one. There are several we argue the best one. 9 is absolutely a wonderful game. Let's say it's a bit grindy, but it is a one. Oh, you got to do it perfect for that challenge. All right, that I can do off screen. But its story and characters is brilliant. Oh, the campfire scene. Oh. As my stream lags a little bit, it makes me worried, because it dipped earlier. Yeah, of the class, like, 1 is a little dated, but I still enjoy it. 2 is grindy as hell, don't recommend it. 3, the final dungeon's grindy, but the rest of the game's brilliant. 4 is my very first Final Fantasy, so I'm biased, but I love it. And considering it was my very first, and I finished it as like a 6-year-old, it's approachable. 5's the hardest game in the series, so take that as you will. If you want the challenge, go for it, if not, hold off. 6 is heavily story-focused, with a lot of characters, and a very open-ended second half of the game. So you get a more linear first half to get the feel for things, and a more open second half to kind of do what you want. 7's iconic. You know, reinvented JRPGs and all the rest, sold like 12 million units back in the day. Favorite one? Yeah. Like I said, 8 is... The problem with 8 is that it doesn't have a traditional, like, it has a level up system per se, but your stats are more affected by what magic you equip to yourself, which you can only get by absorbing it from enemies, and you only absorb it in set amounts at a time, so it takes forever, you know? You know what, because it says clear with Noctis in your party for this challenge, sure, let's put level 1 Noct can be protected by everyone else. Let me get Noct in, just to get this challenge. I'm the only one I'm missing. Playing all minus the MMOs, that's fair. FF11, that MMO, I have a special place in my heart for it, but there's no denying that that game has not aged well. It's an early MMO. It's super fun, but it was one of those... There's a lot of things in modern MMOs that are designed in a way to basically stop it becoming too addicting. Because MMOs in their default form can become, like, not just addictive, but dangerously addictive. And you don't see that nowadays because every single MMO on the market's aware of those factors and know how to avoid them to stop it becoming dangerous. And the ones that deliberately try and exploit it don't sell. It's just how it is. But back in the late 90s and early 2000s, yeah, people didn't know that. So the original Phantasy Star could be dangerously fucking addictive. Final Fantasy XI, people who are super into FF11, you ask them about it now, and it sounds like they're talking about, like, a war story. You know? Because of how, like, excessively addictive that game was to a literal detriment to your health. But the game was super fun, which is why it did that, or why it became that. Whilst obviously now we don't have that. 12 is basically a single-player MMO, and I mean that in a good way. It plays like an MMO. It has a very MMO-esque world. It's a single-player game with a single-player story. It's a bit slow, but I really enjoy it. 13, it's one of the most loved Final Fantasies in Japan. It's one of the most hated Final Fantasies in the West. Do that as you will. It's one of the weirdest fucking things. It was loved in Japan, absolutely despised in the West. Because it's super story-driven, and almost doesn't have an experience system. You're kind of always as strong as the game needs you to be. So you don't really have, like, as much freedom. Your stats, in terms of what you can affect, is more in your equipment. Like, whatever you find or craft along the journey, and less about what your actual level is. 13.2 did away with that, made it something more traditional, but that game is literally Quantum Leap, the video game. Literally, in terms of its story, and I love it. I heavily recommend 13.2 if you can get it. LR is Majora's Mask, the Final Fantasy game, as in the whole game's on a time limit. 14 is, you know, the best-selling MMO on the market, full stop, but if you're not that into it, you're not into it. 15's got the biggest heart of any Final Fantasy, but it's also extremely flawed. And I say that as someone who loves 15. 15 is extremely flawed. You can tell the people making it loved everything they did with it, but it doesn't change the fact that game was dealt a real bad hand. And 16's not out yet. I need an addictive game. I need something to play with waiting for SF6 until we get DLC. Yeah, you mean the DLC that got delayed by a month? I'm like, what's going on with the balancing, you know? Because I imagine the next character, since they kind of sort of half-teased the character's going to be someone involved in that DLC story, is the next character. So I think it's going to be, you know, Delilah, Bedwoman. What's going on with the balancing? You know? That's what I want to know. Oh, that's cute. When you finish 15... Final Fantasy 15, when you finish the game, the logo changes to reflect the ending of the game. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it'll be Bedwoman. Doing that in this, and you can view the completion. There's only one quest we missed. So there is a part of me that wants to go back. Let me put my... Where are you? Where'd you go? Oh, you're higher up. There you are, Firion. I do have it as a... Speaking of Final Fantasy, I can bring it up again. The only Final Fantasy I straight up don't like is Final Fantasy 2, which is why it's a sub-goal on YouTube. If I hit, and it's a very far one, if I hit 1800 subs, I will stream through Final Fantasy 2. Because it's the only one I don't like, and it's because of the leveling system. You don't level up with normal levels and stats. It's instead, if you use, like, X number of physical attacks, your physical attack stat will go up a bit. If you get hit by so many attacks, your max health will go up a bit. If you use magic all the time, your magic will go up a bit. Like, it's very, like, independent, so it becomes excessively grindy. Right, we unlocked a track for 15. Let's go see what it is. Once you beat it. Oh, it's Apocalypse Noctis. Let's go. Every single other Final Fantasy, to some extent, uses levels. I said 13, your strength is kind of dictated for you. Oh, Jesus, that's from the film. Oh, that's footage from the film. That's Kingsglaive. Okay, that's in the game. I wish there was more of these events. The fact that there's only, like, seemingly one event per game, it's like, oh, come on. Ah, it's Best Girl! Oh, there she goes. Fucking main villain Arden. Oh, fucking Aranea, the other beloved character, who I wish got more content. The Dragoon Aranea is so fun. A sassy, really strong woman. Come on, what more do you need? Who kicks ass but knows what's morally right, just does it in her way. The Leviathan chapter fucking 9. My brain got a little fucked with that. These things got 15. The biggest thing with 15 is, like I said, it's got the biggest heart of every Final Fantasy, but it was dealt a bad hand for the entirety of its development life, including in post. Because it was originally going to be developed for Unreal Engine 3, then it was moved to Unreal 4, then development had to start again for next-gen consoles, then it got moved to Luminous Engine, and then it was rushed and put together in the span of 2 years. The final version that we all got to play. And all of, like, the extra content they wanted to put into it had to get put into DLC instead. Just for the DLC to not get finished because the director left the company. Like, the game got dealt a horrendous hand throughout its entire fucking life cycle. Which is a shame because the game is genuinely wonderful. But you can feel it. Every time you go through it, literally at every single turn, you can feel that there was a little more they could have done. But equally, you can feel, and it's hard to explain it unless you played it to experience it yourself, you can feel that everyone involved in this team really cared. They really, really, really wanted it to be something special. And so there's a lot of things you end up kind of forgiving it for, because you can tell their heart was in the right place. It wasn't just a commercial game or like a corporate game sort of thing. It was made by people who really gave a shit and wanted to celebrate the legacy of Final Fantasy whilst also doing something new. And the fact that it has like its own dedicated fan base, like kind of separate from Final Fantasy, proves that it worked. People can appreciate it for what it is. I loved it even when it first came out and, you know, was missing half its fucking content, so... But also, anyone who also turns around and says, well, this game's got this problem, that problem, that problem, that problem, I'm like, yeah, that's fair. We're literally looking at the episode Arden DLC, which was going to be the start of a whole season of DLC that then got cancelled because, you know, the director left. And the entire team, after the director left, what did they get put onto? Fucking Forspoken. Oh, fucking the Hellfire fight is so hype. The whole endgame is super hype. If you ever get 15, get Royal Edition, because it comes with all the DLC. Because Royal Edition also reworked the entire final chapter to make it more, like, climactic. And the way they reworked it was so sick. Phenomenal. You have to go into 15 knowing that it's got, like, cracks everywhere. But it's a game that had a heart of gold. And that's more than I can say than, like, any other Final Fantasy in the series. And the Royal Edition. You got 15, and then you got 15 Royal Edition. If you get it on PC, the PC version is only Royal Edition, because it came out with it. And if you're playing on PS4 Pro or PS5, the game's at 60 frames. And considering it's a pseudo-open world game, that's pretty impressive, because open world games were a nightmare. Wait, Raw Dish. Oh, is it? Then even more result. I think the only thing it's missing is episode Arden, because Arden came out later. But that's one DLC. If you enjoyed the game, you can fork out one DLC, you know? Final Fantasy IV only has 13 tracks? That's a crime. What? Final Fantasy VI only has 13 tracks? What the fuck? I feel like that's a crime. These games have phenomenal OSTs. Remake only has 10 tracks? 8 has 18. 9 has 18, that makes sense. 10-2 only has 6 tracks? What the oh, they didn't like 10-2, shit. 11 has 19, MMO makes sense. 14, yeah, that makes sense. Tic Tacs has 7. Crystal Chronicles has 7. Dissidia had loads of remixes, that makes sense. That one we're doing last, because that's like the boss track, so you only unlock for beating enough series. Is Advent 1 winged? Yes, it is. I know for a fact it is, because it's in the trailer. I haven't encountered it myself yet, but it's in the trailer, so I know it is. Because for Final Fantasy, they split it up. You got Base 7, you got all the spin-off material, so that's Advent Children, Crisis Core, Dirge, Before Crisis, etc. And then you got 7 remakes. But I'm biased. The last series I want to do before we move on to the boss tracks is Final Fantasy IV. It's my favourite Final Fantasy. It's the first one I played, of course I do. And it better only be the SNES OST. I swear to God, if they put in the fucking... half-baked pixel remaster remixes. That's the only thing with the pixel remasters. I'm begging Square to let you play the original music. 1, 2, and 3, the pixel remasters are great. 4, 5, and 6, no. Clear as Cecil? Yeah, sure, we'll put Cecil in the party. Come on, Cecil. Yeah, it's the SNES version, brilliant. Like, nothing of the Pixel remasters, 4 and 6, they're fine with their music. It's just, I prefer the original. 5's Pixel remastered soundtrack, I genuinely don't like, because 5's most prominent instrument was the drum, and they got rid of the drum in the Pixel remaster. I'm just like, huh? So all of the tracks sound like they're missing something, because, oh wait, they are. If you have a PSP or PS Vita, get 1 to 4. Final Fantasy 1, 2, 3, and 4 are all on PSP, and they are arguably the best versions of the games. Especially 4. 4 on PSP is phenomenal, what they did with that game. And on the PS Store, they're usually pretty cheap. But you can get 5 and 6 on the Vita as well, but it's the PS1 Classic versions, which is fine for Final Fantasy V, but for Final Fantasy VI, that game has a lot of long load screens on the PS1 version. Which is weird, because it was a SNES game. It's like, how is it slower on the PS1 than it was on the SNES? Weird how that works sometimes. List. Oh, yeah, like Final Fantasy 1 and 2, PS1 or PSP, both of them are as good as each other. Final Fantasy 3, PSP, I would say DS, but there's online content that for servers that no longer work, and the PSP version made all that online content accessible offline, so by default it's more definitive. 4 is like PSP, no question. 4 After Years is okay. It's nice as just like more Final Fantasy, but in terms of doing its own thing, I was like, yeah, it's alright. The best part of it's final boss scene, to be honest. And 7, 8, 9 is just whatever version you can get a hold of. I'd recommend the PC version just because, you know, mod support, so you can, like, if things aren't 100% right for you, you can. There are a lot of, like, cleanup or modernizing mods that just help make a lot of things in the game a bit easier or a bit more cleaned up if you struggle to go back. And then 10.2 is any version. 10.2, the best way to play that game, I kid you not, is just have a guide strapped to you at all times. Throughout all of it. And I can't stress down enough, if you want to get the true ending, you need a guide, because it's impossible. You can beat the game casually, but you will not get a good ending. Because there's like 101 events in the game that can all affect what ending you get, and you need to witness like something like 95 of them to get the true ending. And like I said, and the game's map is one giant circle. If you foolishly go around it clockwise, you miss a handful of them immediately that are permanently locked off, so you immediately fucking lose the true ending. In the tutorial opening of the game that you only do once, there's 2 events you can miss. And if you don't get them, you permanently miss them. It's like, if you want the true ending, no, you bring a guide. Because otherwise you're never going to get the true ending. Which is a shame, because it then dogs down the quality of the rest of the game, when it's actually a pretty good game. I don't like it as much as 13.1, but it's still pretty good. And I can't... Another thing I'd love to see from Square that I can't stress enough, I'd love to see an all-female cast in a Final Fantasy game tried again. Because 10.2 being the only time they did it, and that game just kind of living in the shadows of 10.1, was a shame. Because it could have been so much more. And hopefully if they do that, they don't do what they do in 10.1, and 10.2, sorry, and make it, like, super, like, doll-like girly. I'm not saying there's not a place for it, but it felt almost like, oh, this game's only got female main characters. We have to make it super cutesy and pink. And it's like, no, you can tell like normal Final Fantasy stories about doing that, guys. I still enjoy the game and enjoy its story, but you know, there's a lot of like that with it, and you just kind of go, what, huh? But and I think if they wrote one more nowadays, they would write it way better, and it still feel like, you know, a Final Fantasy game in any sense of the word. So I mean, FF15 is the other way around. The whole point of FF15 is bros on the road. The main playable cast are all male. It's literally the bros road trip, and they wrote that really well. So we know they can do it. But then saying that, I'd just like another female pro tag. I know 13, in terms of like we're on 16 now, still isn't like that long away. But at the same time, 13's only one of 2 female pro tags in the series, and it's the only one that Square actively count as the pro tag. Final Fantasy VI, although Terra's the main character, anytime you ask Square, they say, oh, everyone's the main character, which, yeah, is technically true, but at the same time, it's like, no, come on, Terra's the face of the game. I'd also like another female villain in a Final Fantasy game, because, well, once again, just like with female main characters, we've only had 2. And one of them doesn't talk. Cloud of Darkness never says a line outside of, I will devour you, or whatever, at the end of FF3. And Ultimisha is, like, has no depth. She's just an evil witch, and it's just like, oh, come on. Like, it shouldn't have to be once in a blue moon we get a female pro tag. You know, there's so many stories they could do. And, like, so many things they can do that, you know, doesn't have to have a male pro tag. Just saying, Square. When I say that, Square, in terms of things they could do with Final Fantasy, there's probably way more things other than just the gender of the pro tag that they could worry about to, like, to try and make better. Even outside of just representation things. But I still love it. And at some point I do want to stream every single Final Fantasy. Maybe not 2, unless we hit the fucking sub goal, and I'll have to, but it's just finding the time for them, because some of them aren't that long. Like the Pixel Remaster games, they're still NES and SNES games. They're not that long. Final Fantasy 12 though, that game's like 200 fucking hours for 100%. Final Fantasy 10, the main game is pretty linear, but it's still pretty damn long. The 13 trilogy is so story struck. You're like 40 hours in, and you've only just got to like chapter 10. You're like, oh, fucking Christ. You know? And of course, 15 being open world, that game's as long as you want to make it. If you want to beeline straight for the story, you can actually get that game done. The game doesn't actually have that long of a story. But if you sidetrack, you can be at it for ages. I'm curious how long 16 will be. Because we still, like, we have a good idea, but there's a lot we don't know. The only thing we know, and you can see it in every trailer for 16, is that, Square poached the combat director for Devil May Cry. Not the director, they didn't get Hitsuno. The combat director. So anytime you look at any trailer for 16, you can see the Devil May Cry influence. And I've been enjoying Persona 4 Golden, played 3 and 5 for it, my first time playing 4. 4's my favourite Persona game to play casually. My favourite story is 2, but yeah, the one to just go through and play is always 4. Even if some of the dialogue in that game's aged badly, it's still, I still really enjoy it. However, 16 looks sick. Oh, I agree. I can't wait for June. June's gonna be such a brutal month. So I fucking Street Fighter 6 at the start of the month, and then FF16. I'm like, please. Please, my wallet. Dun 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 dun. Feet too bomb enemies, yeah, we can do that. And as I was saying earlier in the stream, just before you joined, I'm curious what will come after 16. Because 16 for the franchise is effectively a culture reset. Starting with like 6 or 7, depending on how you want to argue it, they've been leaning into modern fantasy and sci-fi fantasy more than classic. Or medieval. Especially 13. The whole 13 trilogy is super fucking sci-fi. It's super in the future. While 16 is going straight back to classic medieval, so I'm really curious what the inevitable 17 will look like years from now after the culture reset. Like, will it be more medieval as well, or will it go back to being slightly more sci-fi modern fantasy? You know? Like, Square's never gonna do, like, a blah 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 2 ever again for Final Fantasy, I think. I think the declining sales of the 13 trilogy made sure they were never gonna do that. I think 16 will be a one and done. There won't be a 16-2. It was a fun experiment for 10 that got taken too far with the 13 trilogy. As much as I like the 13 trilogy. And also, who's going to make 17 when it comes around? Is Yoshi P just the font of Final Fantasy now? Is he going to be directing or producing everything to do with Final Fantasy going forward? Because I know a lot of people will be fine with that. At the same time, though, I'm just kind of curious. Because that man's already got a busy workflow, you know, doing all of Final Fantasy 14. And then being the producer for 16, it's like, I wonder what's next. I know what's next in terms of releases. It's 7 Remake Part 2, or 7 Rebirth, because that's supposed to be this winter. Because yeah, we are potentially getting a fucking double dip of AAA Final Fantasy this year, which is crazy to think about. I'm still like hesitant to say it will be. Because they say it's going to be winter this year, but like winter like season, that could easily go into like January next year, we'll see. I just think it's too vague on the release window to know for sure. Especially considering 16's in June. And like we've known 16's going to be in June for like since Game Awards. Eventually Remake Part 2. Yeah, I imagine it'll happen. It probably won't be a big delay because they are seemingly further along development than people assumed they'd be. But yeah, Rebirth I can, or Part 2, I can absolutely see being early to mid next year instead. Yeah, I think the fact that they haven't brought them up at all in forever, I don't think that's I think that's been dropped. I'm more gutted that Tomb Raider's 25th anniversary resulted in a cookbook, a statue, and a mobile game that's now it's out is kind of just a basic shit undercooked mobile game that didn't need to exist. When we could have got... Well, should I say that? I misread your comment. Square, I think, is still doubling down with all that shit. Because, you know, the CEO it can't read the room. But we'll have to see on that one. I know a lot of people within Square don't agree with what the CEO is doing, so it's only a matter of time before he gets thrown out, but only so much. Train beauty. I'm going to pull away from FF4, because I've just realised the time. We will do a little bit more if we get time later on. I want to do these Because these are like these are like the final boss tracks. You're not allowed to, you can't access them until you beat a set amount of series. So I kind of want to do them to see how like they handle like their final end game, so to speak, before we wrap up. Because I've got work later today, so I can't stream for ages. But if it's Square, I don't think Square sold like all their Western properties specifically for NFTs. A lot of it came across as deliberately downsizing. Which gives me the impression that they were, maybe at some point, who knows if they still are, were intending to sell. Like, maybe like sell themselves to Sony sort of thing, because that was around the time that like Microsoft and Sony were buying out companies. But hey, THQ now owns Tomb Raider. And I'm making a new Tomb Raider game on Unreal Engine 5. All I want from Tomb Raider, honestly, is an actual remastered collection. It is baffling to me that all 9 of the first Tomb Raider games are stuck on their original hardware. Like, come on, you know? All 6 of the classics are stuck on PS1, PS2, Dreamcast. And the whole Legend trilogy is stuck on PS2, PS3, Xbox, and Xbox 360. Because considering how significant they were when they came out to the industry, it's kind of a crime they've had no legacy. And yes, I do also want the bad ones in the collections. I want Angel of Darkness and Chronicles. Because I genuinely, Angel of Darkness is a guilty pleasure for me. That game is extremely flawed, but I like it. I like what they were going for and what they were doing with it, and I would happily go through that game again. I wish the game was, I wish Tomb Raider wasn't free for free in having the, like, an experimental, hyper-ambitious, darker toned game being the last game of that era because it gets rushed out the door. Angel of Darkness was hyper-ambitious, much darker in tone, was trying something different, was rushed by their publisher like a year before it was ready, killed the original era. The Legend trilogy, Underworld, is much darker in tone, a much more ambitious title, was rushed out the door so severely it straight up is the only Tomb Raider to not have any bosses. Didn't do as well. Killed that era. The reboot trilogy, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, once again, much more ambitious, was trying to do different things, it's way darker than the original, was rushed out the door. The new Tomb Raider being worked on has nothing to do with the reboot. It's like, could we not be free for free of trying to do darker, more ambitious Tomb Raiders and having them get rushed by their publishers, please? Please? I love the Tomb Raiders that get a bit darker. Yeah. Like, if I had a coin for every time that happened, I'd have 3 coins, which isn't a lot, but it's really fucking weird it happened 3 times, you know? As you can tell, I love the Tomb Raider series. Tomb Raider is another series I felt like, over the years, has got dealt like a questionable hand. Because although I like the games to a certain extent, I do think the reboot is the weakest era of Tomb Raider. I still like them as their own games, but they don't have that kind of iconicness that the original series do, and they don't have that sheer quality and fun factor the Legend trilogy was brimming with. Yeah. So generally, all I need to do is do a remaster of the classic games. We already know, because they've confirmed it, they're working on a new Tomb Raider game for Unreal Engine 5, which I'm sure will be fine. The only thing I'm concerned about is that they want to homogenize all 3 eras of Tomb Raider in the next game, and I'm like, I hate to break it to you guys, but the Lara Croft of the original series, the Lara Croft of Legend, and especially the Lara Croft of the Survivor era, or Reboot era as I call it, are entirely different people. You can't convince me they're the same Lara. The original Lara is no nonsense, with a little bit of cheek, but is mostly just aggressive attitude. The Legend Trilogy is extremely impassioned by what she does, but is really cheeky and just kind of winks with the moment. And Reboot is the whole... the hurt over, like, serious, growing child who has to fight to find her way through everything in life and all that shit. It's like, you can't convince me they're the same person. You can't homogenize that into the next game convincingly. Something would have to give. So there is a chance. Yeah, true. That's the biggest thing with whatever Tomb Raider comes next. Stop borrowing off Uncharted. The Reboot Trilogy, more so the first one in the Reboot Trilogy, it felt like it just borrowed way too much from Uncharted. Whilst Rise and Shadow started to become a little bit more like Tomb Raider again. Shadow especially. Despite its problems, Shadow actually felt like a Tomb Raider game again. And for the love of God, never do multiplayer in a Tomb Raider game again. It doesn't need it. I'm glad that was only a one and done. And then they never did it again. I know that was also during the era where like every game had to have a multiplayer shoe-in mode, but I'm glad they never brought it back. The only single-player game that I felt had a really good multiplayer shoe-in mode was honestly Assassin's Creed. From like Brotherhood onwards to I think 4, the competitive multiplayer mode they had for those games were genuinely super fun. They took a lot to get good at, but they were still super fun. They still made it fit into the theme of the game. You had to still try and be stealthy, sneak up on people, blend into crowds, and whatnot. Like, it still made sense in the context. Battle Scene Remix, Smash Guitar Electric goes hard. Oh god, yeah, I hope so. I haven't actually looked at what them Dissidia... I think there's a lot of Dissidia tracks in here, so I haven't actually looked what's in them yet. But damn, I hope so. I also hope, Katana Mortis and the God of Fire is in it, but I imagine it will either be Katana Mortis or God of Fire. It won't be both of them together, because of how long the track becomes. Choose your combatants. Clear without restoring HP. Oh, well, I've already failed it because one of my characters were put on regen. So it's just a challenge I have to clean up in post. In terms of like trophy hunting and cleanup, I'll worry about that in my own time. Because I'm going to be playing this game a lot in my own time anyway. This will be the last stream I do on it, at least for now. Like, when the DLCs start coming out, I might do more depending on how I feel. Because I genuinely do love this game. But starting tomorrow, we're getting back to Caligula Effect. And more double agent shenanigans. Oh, and for anyone who'd like watch it, I did fix the problem I encountered in that game. Because I messed up a social link, and you have to max out... Well, they're not called social links, but they're basically social links. I messed up a social link, and I wasn't sure how to repair it to continue it on. And considering you need to max out everyone to get the true ending, that was a problem. I didn't know if I'd like soft-locked myself or something out of the true ending, but no, I hadn't. You have to burn 50 skill points, so I just had to do a little bit of grinding. And then go to Mew. And when she goes, oh, you don't seem to be getting along with someone. Have you got a strong enough heart for it? Go, yes. And then she just takes 50 skill points and it resets that rank so you can try it again. Which, considering how insanely easy it is to grind skill points in that game, it was nothing. It's just like a slap on the wrist sort of thing if you mess it up. Right. We'll be back in just a minute. I just gotta go do something. Right, I'm back. Yeah, I failed because I have a character that auto heals. So even though I hit it perfect, it doesn't matter. They auto heal, so I have to turn off my healer when I go for challenges, which is part of the reason why I'm not that fussed about doing challenges yet. 7 more enemies. Oh, is this just the curtain call theme? Because if you don't know about THEATRHYTHM, this game's actually like the 5th game in the series. You got Theatre and Final Fantasy. You've got All-Star Carnival, Curtain Call, Arcade something, I can't remember what that one's called, and then this one, Final Bar Line. Most of them were on the 3DS. Because yeah, the THEATRHYTHM games are just old enough. Oh no, one of them was like a crossover with Dissidia, I think. Because like the new Dissidia is coming out, so they did like a crossover THEATRHYTHM thing. And by the seams of it, this one's supposed to be like a swan song for the series, which is why it's on everything and getting like an astronomical amount of DLC and launched with like over 400 tracks if you count the deluxe editions. And I'm hoping even after all the DLCs come out, that's not it. Because they could theoretically just, you know, update this game after 16's out to add 16 tracks, you know? Update it when Rebirth comes out to add 7 Rebirth tracks, you know, come on. You know, like... Octopath 2 comes out in a week, that's Square owned, add some more Octopath tracks in later down the line. Because we know Octopath 1 tracks are coming in one of the DLCs, but like, you know, just chuck in a couple 2 tracks while you're at it. Octopath 1 had an amazing OST. Oh, absolutely. It's the same composer for Octopath 2. And when I was listening to the demo, I was like, oh, it's absolutely... You can tell it's the same composer, because the music's just as fucking good. But it's still not, like, proper pre-orderable, so I'm hesitant to get it, because there's, you know, other things I want to get. Because Grim Guardians is supposed to be next week. Rise of Freeze in March. That game went golden today, so that's definitely coming in March, no more delays. Before 2 comes out. Yeah, you've got like a week. And then, like, although I'm not expecting anything too much, this coming Monday is the 10th anniversary of Metal Gear Rising. And Platinum have already said they're hosting a special event to celebrate the occasion. And I'm like, I'm not going to expect anything, but there's a chance, you know? We might have a remaster coming our way. There's a chance. Oh, this remix is amazing. Of the Prelude. And if there is a remaster of MGR coming, then I'm absolutely going to get that, because I love that game. It's one of my favourite 360 games. Next to 13-2. And Halo Reach. This track's still going. We also could just do with a Metal Gear anything, to be honest, coming soon. Now Konami have said that they have, like, you know, they plan to get back involved with the gaming industry, which they tried to prove, you know, all the 5 Silent Hill announcements we got at the end of last year. It's like, yeah, okay, then have Bluepoint make a Metal Gear Solid 1 remake, at least. I still feel like they should have remade Silent Hill 1 first instead of jumping straight to Silent Hill 2. But hopefully they'll go back to that if Silent Hill 2 remake is firstly good and secondly does well. So I'm kind of jury's out on if it will be good or not just because of the team that's working on it. Bluebird don't have a good track record with me, at least. Get more console ports. Yeah, if it's with Metal Gear Solid, they don't even have to do a remake. They could just put the PS3's Legacy Collection on modern hardware and most people will be happy. I'm more excited for Silent Hill F. Silent Hill F is like a new direction for the series, a new idea for it, something different. I'm like, bring it on. The film, I'm not a fan of any of the films, so whatever. The other ones we don't know that enough really about for me to say here nor there. What's the challenge? Clear without items. Oh, we're already not using items anyway. That is amazing. Yeah, because you get 1, 2, 3, and 4. Was it Metal Gear Acid, Peace Walker, and like a few other like bonuses here and there for various things. Admittedly, Legacy Collection does kind of cheat because Metal Gear Solid 1 is just the at the time PS Classics from the PS3 store, and not like an actual proper remaster on the disc. It just downloads that. So if they put that onto modern console, they'd have to actually, you know, recode a few things to make it work properly, because it's just a PS3 version, like the PS3's PS1 Classic version. And Metal Gear Solid 4 has never been ported to anything since its original release, so it'd just be nice to see that kind of get to be experienced. It's a weird Metal Gear Solid game for sure, but it's still important. The only thing in MGS4 I wasn't a fan of was the bosses. I thought the bosses were pretty damn weak. That's why I say Metal Gear Rising feels more like a Metal Gear Solid game than 4 at times. Because MGS 1, 2, and even 3 had really iconic and unique and out there bosses, and 4 just kind of didn't. It was just like, hey, look at these models Kojima hanged out with the Beauty and Beasts bosses. But here's the thing, considering it's Konami, any Metal Gear Solid game that directly references or has Kojima in it, are they going to get rid of him? I don't think they're going to make another new Metal Gear. I think after how much Survive tanked, they're never going to make a new game again. I think Metal Gear as a franchise is done, if I'm honest. The only way Metal Gear's continuing is with Rising. And what a lot of people don't realise, people say, oh, they can't make Rising 2 without Kojima. Rising 1 was made without Kojima. He tried to make a Rising, didn't like it, passed it on to Platinum because he couldn't do what he wanted with it, and just basically let Platinum do whatever. He gave them the right. He just went, yeah, sure. He gave them their blessing. Kojima had very little to do with Rising 1's story and game as a whole. So Rising 2, that'd be fine. If Rising 2 is just Platinum doing Platinum's thing, that'll be fine. I think it'd be in safe hands. But that's not the only way I could see Metal Gear continuing. Make a Metal Gear 6. Yeah, I think because I've just been bitten too hard, because I didn't like 5 at all. I think for me it's just... definitely not copium. I don't want a 6, honestly. Because I didn't like 5 at all. 5 felt unnecessary from the moment it was announced, and then when you played it, it just felt like it proved its case. Like, it just felt unnecessary to me. It was a shame, because I actually enjoyed Ground Zeroes. If the whole game was more like concentrated levels like Ground Zeroes, instead of the whole open world shtick, I probably would have loved it. It would have been fantastic. But no, that's not what they did. They made a mission-based open-world game where all your starting locations are always annoyingly far from the objective. But any actual decent companion you could bring with you resulted in you not being able to take the horse. So you were basically, just for the sake of, you know, getting a good time on any mission, forced to only bring the horse. So So you felt more, despite being an open world game, you actually felt somewhat restricted, especially when you get a good rank. God, this remix of Seymour's theme's kind of hype. My favourite version is still the 7 remaster version of Fighter Seymour, admittedly. Then the Black Mages version, then the original, but this is a cool remix too. Ooh, I like what they did with this bit. Oh, they don't have the build up back into the loop. Where he goes, do 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 do. God damn, how much damage do they want you to do? 19.5k? Please, thinking, how much damage did I do? Is that fucking... Is that fucking Matsu's Cave? That's a sick remix. Wait, how much damage did I actually do? Let me check. Oh, I don't know where it was. Max damage 0. Oh, never mind. I tried to get into his Kingdom Hearts, played the first one, it was fine, but Chain of Memories was miserable, kind of got turned off from the rest of the games. Yeah, that's fair. Chain of Memories is such a different beast. Which is a shame, because KH2 is easily the best one, especially Final Mix. Because I marathoned all the games in the series years ago, and did all of their, just because I wanted to do all their super bosses on each game's hardest difficulty. I really enjoyed 1. Chain of Memories bored the shit out of me. Kingdom Hearts 2 is one of my all-time favourite games. It's genuinely brilliant, especially on Final Mix. 358 is boring as hell, don't play it. Birth by Sleep is pretty damn good, but it's got a slow fucking start. Like, you gotta grind to start out a little bit, but when it gets its vibe going, it's really good. Dream Drop Distance I never finished because I just found the game boring. And KH3 was okay when it came out, but with all its DLC is now way better. And I've never played Melody and Memories, because KH3 ended the Xehanort Saga, the first major storyline. And considering it started in 2001 and took until, 2018 or 2019 to finish, I kind of treated that as, am I going to stick with it from this point onwards, or am I jumping ship? And I decided to jump ship, end it while I still enjoy it, you know? Instead of waiting for another saga that could take another 20 bloody years of my life. There are ways of cheating Chain of Memories to make it bafflingly easy, but you'd still got to get it. And you're not even dumb. When you do every Chain of Memories, you unlock Reverse Rebirth, which is also, its own thing that also uses the card mechanics. You have to do the game fucking twice. So just don't. The story of the Kingdom Hearts series is nowhere near as complex as people make it out to be. As long as, you have some kind of consistency to it. It is complicated, but it's not that bad. You can go into 2. I started with 2 and managed to figure everything out. It's more like references are the only things you kind of won't get. Which is fine in Chain of Memories' case, because, oh wait, the characters are forced to forget the events of Chain of Memories at the end of the game. Because Sora's memories get fucked with throughout the course of the game. So at the end of it, he has to get reset, basically, so his memories of the events of Chain of Memories don't happen. which is what the intro KH2 is, and why you're not playing as Sora at the start of the game, because you're the last step of like fixing Sora's memories, so you can have his like soft start. And it also then ends up explaining why Sora's back at level 1 at the start of KH2. Because they spend way too much time in the series explaining why Sora has to be level 1 for the next main game. Chain of Memories fucks with all of Sora's memories, so he has to be literally like reset to like reconfigure all of his memories. That's why he's level 1. Dream Drop Distance, he gets brainwashed and manipulated, and loses all of his abilities as a result. So then he can start KH3 at level 1. You're just like, come on. Nothing spells fun like playing a game with one hand and shuffling a deck of cards the others. Yeah, exactly. Like, I can't wait, because we know KH4's in development. Like, what random spin-off's gonna happen that's gonna explain how he's level 1 in that game? I'll say that we kind of already know, because at the end of KH3, Sora ends up in another realm. So they could easily just use that as an excuse and say it's a new realm, new rules. I know he always does. He doesn't die. He's presumed dead. He gets transported to a different world, but it's like a different timeline sort of thing. Think Doctor Who, when Rose Tyler couldn't reach the Doctor anymore because she got strapped in like an entirely different timeline. That's what's happening. Sora doesn't know where he is. He's just in a completely different universe / timeline existence, so can't reach the other people, nor can they reach him. The only thing is that the super boss that was added in the DLC, the first thing Sora encounters is Yuzora, who then turns him into stone. So it's like, we don't know what's going on with Sora. But because there's a teaser trailer we've seen of Sora running around, it's like, oh, clearly he survives that then, it's just whatever comes next. Oh, I like this remix of the FF5's theme. It's crazy how they've, you know, taken the music of the hardest game in the series and made it sound inviting. It's like, yeah, you want to play FF5? No, don't look at the... don't look at the enemies that are 30 levels higher than you right off the rip. Don't worry about it. Don't look at the fact that we hide the hardest super boss in the entire franchise in a treasure chest you can stumble into by accident. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about the fact that one of the super bosses is literally blocking the path to the final boss, so you have to like hug a wall to get around it if you don't want to get rinsed by an enemy that's 50 levels higher than you. Don't worry about it. Final Fantasy V is a balanced game, I promise. I say that most of FF5's fine outside of super boss hiding a super boss in the treasure chest bullshit. You just gotta play the game on its rules. And a lot of people don't. They just play it standard. They do their levels. They pick a job class they like and stick to it, when the game wants you to alternate job classes all the time to suit whatever situation. And ultimately, because every time you max out a job class, it goes into your freelance. So when you go back to the freelancer class, the freelance class gets better and better the more classes you max out. So if you max out like most, if not all the jobs, and then go to freelance at the end of the game, you'll steamroll a lot of it. Not all of it, but you'll do really well. Just avoid the Omega weapon. And if you find a weird staircase in a crystal area near the end of the dungeon that leads to just one chest at the end, don't open it. Don't open it, because fucking a dragon's going to come out of it. That's level 99. That's going to kill you. Like, there's no two-way about it. It's going to win. It's going to kill you. Goddamn Shinryu. I can't believe in the iOS version they made an Omega Shinryu that you can access in post-game. I was just like, that's even harder. I was like, why? Like, isn't it torture enough for playing the iOS version? Why did they turn this cave theme into a rave? This Final Fantasy 1 cave theme. It's a cool remix, don't get me wrong, but like, what the heck? I don't know why, but it's a bop. Yeah. Oh, I like this bit a lot. Oh my goodness, I just looked at the bottom bar. This track's long. I thought I was near the end. So we're like a little over halfway. Because these tracks are much longer, you get your wrist gets tired. It's why I'm making more mistakes as we go on, because my wrist starts to get tired when it's way longer. Why Persona 5 Dancing was so evil for making the whole credits song one track for the rhythm game, because it's like a 7.5 minute long track. You get tired, you get like 2 minutes in and you start slipping up. It's so evil to try and get perfect. Alright, 6 more. What's next? Oh, I know that Genova remix. That's an amazing fucking remix. We're gonna get to that soon. God of War 1 on PlayStation, it's on everything else. Yeah, you know what's more confusing? Octopath 2's on everything but Xbox. That's the more confusing thing. The first game is on Xbox, it's on Switch, it's on PC, it's not on PlayStation. The sequel, it's on PlayStation, it's on PC, it's on Switch, it's not on Xbox. Huh? Like, bruh, like, come on. Yeah, you get it. It's like... So if you just play on PlayStation or Xbox, it doesn't matter, you're not getting one of them right now, you know? It's only if you're on Switch or PC you get both. Which I suppose is a good reason to get a Switch. Uniformity. Oh, this track's got annoying beats. I can already tell I'm gonna make a lot of mistakes. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, that goes so high pitch. Maybe just a little goofy. Yeah. I really hope Bravely Default 2 comes to consoles soon. I don't know if it ever will, because it came out on Switch and it got a Steam release, and that was it. And I'd love a Bravely game on consoles. But then also I'd love Bravely Default 1 and Bravely 2nd to come to console, but so far that seems locked to the 3DS. That note, I knew it. I told you those notes are going to get screwing me over later on. Yeah, if you have a Switch and you're set. But if it takes me a sec to get to chat, sometimes I do try and focus on this. This track's actually a little tougher. Okay, there we go. So I'll get Octopath 2 eventually. It's just there's so many other things I want to get that's coming out around this season. So I'm holding off. But my big purchase is after this, because this is a full price title, is Rise of 3, which is next month. Right, Genova, I've already done it because it showed up in online. As in online, everyone can put in their own tracks. Someone put this track in. So you can see I already have a score on it, but just not in the mission mode. But we're going to do it because I love this. I love this mix. This is a phenomenal mix of Genova's theme. Atelier Rise of 3, that's next month. Because I've been marathoning a lot of Atelier games and got super into it. I did Ryza 1 before Christmas, Ryza 2 just after in the new year. Ryza 3 comes out March 20-something. And I plan to get that. Also, enjoy this remix. Because I was like love on first listen for me. And then speaking of Atelier, we've got Atelier Marie, the original one from like 25 years ago, getting a full-blown remake in the summer. Because the dev team, Gus, just can't help themselves but keep working on like several projects. But by the sounds of it, I don't know the details. The Atelier Marie remake isn't all them. They've got a third party helping them out, and I'm like, good. That's way too much to do like 2 full JRPG releases in 1 year from the same team. I wonder if Genova Quickening's in their remake playlist. I'm surprised I got that perfect, considering how hectic that track got. Hey, and we did the challenge, nice. Alright, 4 more tracks to go. Oh, All-Star Carnival. Okay, let's do Battle of the Big Bridge first. See how this Battle of the Big Bridge remix sounds like. After we've done the boss tracks, I am going to wrap up because I've got work later. And then tomorrow back on Caligula Effect, and then next week will be a bit of Caligula, but mostly trying to get Danganronpa 2 wrapped up. So I kind of want the schedule to be relatively clear approaching Rise of 3, because that'll be the only game I want to play once it's out. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, I was just bad. I got too ahead of myself. This isn't as easy as it looks, by the way. When it picks up and gets crazy, I'm like, ah! Can this track fucking end? Oh, I was like, ah! The whole track. That's a hard fucking track. Yeah, 8? Yeah, no kidding, that was an 8. Jesus. Yeah, clear of 80% HP and it's a 10 challenge? Yeah, no shit. Wow. That's a hard fucking track. It's a 5 on easy. Most experts are a 5 difficulty. What's it like on Supreme? 16? Ugh. No, I'm good. That was fucking... This is a 6. Yeah, so this is more reasonable. A 6. Holy shit, that track goes hard. And it's hard to play. And it threw me off, because that's the first time I've had a 4-note in one go. I had to press up on both sticks and press 2 buttons. It caught me off guard, because I'd yet to bump into that as a challenge. This is perfect chain, so you know I'm going to fuck it up. Thankfully it's not a critical chain. I've yet to see a challenge say do a critical chain, which is... no. Why are so many of these remixes sound like rave mixes? I'm about to go to a disco. Oh boy. Oh, that's Within the Giant that's playing now. I've played way too much Final Fantasy in my life that I recognise it from a loose remix instantly. Oh, bitch. I let go of the wrong button first. I was like, oh, I won't care what button I let go of. It does. It does. I want to try that again, because it's a perfect... I held X first and down second, so I let go of down. It's like, oh, it'll be fine. No, it let go... You have to let... Whatever button you hold first, when you have to let go of first. I know that sounds obvious. Let me try that again. If I fuck it up a second time, I'll just roll it out. It's just that was a dumb mistake to screw up on. Oh, here we go. Alright, this time, Rob, don't screw up the easy thing. Whatever button you hold first is the one you let go. There we go. This is more FF4 music. Also, why are all the enemies be fighting different final bosses of the series? That's Orphan from 13. That's the Dancing Mad Tower with the super boss from 12, whose name slips my mind. Also, we got turned to stone in midair, look at us. But Knights of the Round will clear them out. If that's realistic, if that super boss is realistic to the amount of health it has in 12, okay, no, it's not realistic. So it would have, like, it has the most health of any boss in a Final Fantasy game. This is Cloud of Darkness and Titan. Oh geez, I can see why the challenges do a perfect chain. This is... It's not as hard as the Gilgamesh one, but it's tough. You motherfuckers, why would you do 4 buttons? Fuck, I missed. Oh! I saw that coming up to me and I was like, oh! Like my heart sank. I nearly had it perfect. Last notes, I wasn't prepared for the 4 notes to come. My heart sank when I saw 4 buttons coming at me. I was like, why would you do this? I wasn't ready. What a 7 special arrangement. Sure, let's go. We're nearly there. We've only got a couple tracks left, and then after that I'll wrap up because I've got work later. I want to get some food now so then I can eat again before I go out. Just then I'll make sure I'm like completely good for it, you know? And of course FF7 gets its own special arrangement because 7 is Final Fantasy's favourite child, or Square's favourite child. And fair enough considering, you know, FF7 did like 12 million units when it first came out. It was like the best selling game on PS1 by far. Aeris theme. No, it's not. It's the main theme. Not my bad. I get those two modelled off all the time. Despite the fact they are pretty different. Oh, the normal version of this theme's slower than this. I was trying to figure out what it is, and it's throwing me off because it's too fast. It's still the main theme, it's just that bit got way quicker, so I was like, is it a new track? No. This is cool. Oh, absolutely. Stop, Jesus! Straight into One Winged Angel, huh? Oh, the battle theme. I'm not actually sure what this track is, I'm gonna be honest. Oh, it's Airbuster. Slash boss theme. Dun, 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 dun. Down, 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 down. Shit. Now it's Aeris theme. Oh, and Princess Proper era. One of the most tragic themes in gaming. That was an amazing tribute to FF7. that sharp transition from, you know, just like the main theme into Sephiroth, like, it almost made me jump. I was like, whoa! Alright, one more track, and then we're done with the boss themes. Chaos strikes. Your bounty of Etheria as Lord Chaos from across space and time. Prepare yourself for the battle ahead. Oh, defeat Chaos. And it's a 7 on Expert. Uh-oh. I have to do that for every FF game. God, yeah, can you imagine? You're just listening to the main theme of FF4 and fucking Zeromus kicks in. Oh. Defeat the boss and he has triple health. Great. Alright. Theoretic final boss time. We've gone from the FF1 final boss theme to the FF4 boss theme. Now on to Battle the Big Bridge, so we've gone from 1 to 4 to 5. We're on FF6. This is the boss theme. So we're just going to go through the series in one big melody, huh? FF7 with the rock. Yeah, because this is the boss theme. This is Airbuster. The Man with the Machine Gun, FF8. So we're just going to go through all of them. The only reason it skipped 2 and 3 is because they're all NES era, so there's only so much you could do, I assume. So this is 9. This is Battle of Seymour, 10. I think this is an 11 track. I say I think because I didn't play any real 11 as a kid growing up. Well, not enough to recognize this. This is absolutely 12. This is 13. Da -da 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 -da. This is 14. Hey, we beat it! So now back to the main theme, okay, cool. That was sick. A one big melody that brings the whole franchise together. That was a perfect finale track. Have all these major themes across the whole franchise, all the way to 15. Come on. That was chef's kiss. Alright, let's see what we get for that. FF2 and 3 though. Yeah, I think it's because they're all like 8-bit titles. They just like homogenize them, but still. And we get the Curtain Call Special. Radiant light, the crystal has been restored. Waves musical strength resound through the land. What does that mean? Oh, we finished. So yeah, the THEATRHYTHM tracks are the boss tracks, which is also explains perfectly why they were so much harder. But we did it. We finished THEATRHYTHM Final Bar Line, the main story of it. We've barely touched the surface of the tracks though. Creative direction, Nomura. Nomura directed this. Fair. Character designer, Monster Octopus. Original composers. Look at that list. Look at that list. This game is wicked cool. That's when we barely scratched the surface. We haven't done most of FF4. We haven't done 6. We haven't done 7, the series, or remake. We haven't done 8. We haven't done 9. We haven't done 10-2. Is that the path tracks come out? But we didn't do any of the 13. Well, we did 13-2, but not all of 13. You know, there's so much still to do, and that's even ignoring the DLC and deluxe extra tracks. And we got an extra track for this. This game rules. But there's someone who's a huge Final Fantasy fan and a rhythm game fan. Oh, I didn't even touch any of the spin-offs other than Mystic Quest, because there's 2 characters from spin-offs in the background. Excuse me. Hang on, is that Golbez riding Zeromus in the background? I saw that. Yeah, there's the Heaven form. All the robots from 13. Gilgamesh fighting Gabranth. The protags running together is cool. Oh, absolutely. There's a different. That's all the spin-off-esque protagonists running together. There's Tactics. There's Zero. There's Benji. There's Zack in there. I can see Sarah. There's the Mystic Quest guy at the back. Is that Alexander running around? Is that fucking the final boss of 5 that just got yeeted out of existence? There's that bod, Yzmat. I remember its name now. Yzmat has something like 50 million HP in Final Fantasy 12. Which is why I was like, I wonder if it's going to last that long when it was in this. So when it died, I knew. Shinryu came out the chest. That was the boss I was talking about in 5. It hides in the chest. I saw that. There's a tower from 6. This is a really cute credit screen. Yeah, then it was all the villains. Then it's now all the Chocobos, the Cactuar, Bomb and a Slime. Oh, there goes the Quack Cactuar. So I'm more watching the background, and then back to the protags. Oh no, everyone's running together now. Yeah, pick up the pace score right near the back. Some of the summons is Odin. Oh Jesus, the Undying from 12 just flying in the background back there. That nightmare fuel. Pretty damn cool. Yeah, this whole game, like, it's supposed to be an anniversary title to celebrate the legacy. It feels like an anniversary title celebrating the legacy. Because it's celebrating 35 years of Final Fantasy. Even though that anniversary was last year. All of them got turned into frogs. Alright, and there's yeah, Orphan, Kefka, God of Darkness, Golbez, fucking Jax in the background, Chaos, Arden. I don't get to see all of them. Oh, that's so cool. That's so cool. It's literally everyone. 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, Crown of Darkness 3, 2, the original. Maiden Unity. Barrett riding the emerald weapon in the background. There's the Undying, that Freakinator at the top there. Oh, getting blocked off by the crystal, thank goodness. Oh, I got a gold trophy for watching the credits. Well, it makes making the credits entertaining. Right, there's one more thing. We unlocked something for our trouble. This. I want to see what this is, and then we're wrapping. And I'll do the rest and whatnot. And where to start. No, don't start with 1. 1's a bit too clunky. I don't know which one I'd say personally make this one your starting one, but I started before, and it's a perfectly good game to start with. 6 is one of the easier games in the series. Like I said, the first half of the game is pretty linear, whilst the second half's more open, so you kind of get introduced better into the exploration side of Final Fantasy. So that's a good starting point. 7's a good starting as well. I'd probably say 6 is the best starting, that I think about it. Because 9's a good starting point as well, but like I said, it's a little slow with grindy at places. 10 is entirely linear, so if you just want an RPG where you go through the story beats, 10 is a great place to start. I love 12, but you do not make 12 your first Final Fantasy, because that game's got so much going on. 13.2 is pretty good, but the problem is there's a lot of context from 13.1 you won't get, and 13.1's hard to recommend. 15 was hand-built to be a beginner-friendly Final Fantasy, but is missing content and is kind of lackluster in places as much as I enjoy it. I'd probably say either 6, because the Pixel remasters are coming. M2 console soon, so that'd be a good place to start. Like 6, 7, or 10. 15 is a great place to start as well. But you just have to go into 15 understanding that it wasn't... Like I said, it got screwed over by things, so it's not a complete full package, but I still really enjoy it. Like, there's things missing when you play it, and you can feel there's things missing. Oh, this is cute. Final Fantasy 1. This is a great beat the game reward. So already, please tell me it goes through all of them. That's FF2. There's some FF3. There's FF3, because it's the Onion Knight going to Cloud of Darkness. Now we're in FF4. But I haven't seen the SNES sprites of FF4 in forever, so I always play the PSP version. There's 5, fucking X-Death to Tree. The hardest game in the series. The 4 warriors. 6. Oh, 6's intro. Oh, I was kind of hoping more of the intro would play for a second there. 6 is a beautiful goddamn game. And like, it's another one of those games that just push the hardware to the absolute limit. You can kind of see, you look at this and you're like, this is a SNES game? They did some beautiful, ambitious things. Oh, good old 7. Oh, this makes me happy. 8 was insanely ambitious for a PS1 title. You can kind of see how ambitious it was. 9, the adorable 9 with its cutesy art style and more traditional fantasy and heartfelt setting. 10, the fucking thrill ride that is 10. The first of the PS2 games and the first one to have voice acting. And 10 also had one of the more beautiful love stories written in gaming. 11. 12, Jesus, the fucking... 12 is so underrated. Which is funny because I hated 12 as a kid, but I love it nowadays. It's just that it's not a beginner-friendly Final Fantasy. The super sci-fi fantasy that is 13. I still love 13. I know 13, like I said, is absolutely despised by most people and treated as like the worst thing in the series, but I genuinely really love the game. I have a huge soft spot for it. 14. It's got problems for sure, but I love it. You know, I was playing with character models. Yeah, you're not too far off. Oh, this stops at 14, no 15 footage? Wow, 15 got shorthanded there. The final bosses, the endings, fucking X-Death, fucking Kefka. Wedding at the end, yep. Tidus is passing at the end, 11. Everyone moving on with their life. The sun over the horizon, 13. The new day of 14. That's beautiful. Yeah, rip 15, but that was a nice tribute. That was a cool... To beat the game track, that was cool. I still have no idea why this track's so evil. Why this track is so hard, but... Oh, that's going to be those 5 are from... Yeah, these ones. But like, if I go to Square Enix titles, we've got Legends, we've got Romance and Saga, and we've got Minstrel Song so far. Like, there's still a whole bunch we're missing yet, like in the DLCs, but we got a healthy amount. But, just like the last stream, we're going to wrap this up by looking at what my feats and accomplishments are now. 18 hours, yeah, you can tell I've been playing it off-screen. 18 hours, yikes. I got addicted. God, I did 2 ultimates, oof. Total 10 hours and 48 minutes on the main story mode, 48 minutes on multiplayer. I need to mess with party mode a little bit more properly. I did it once just to mess with it. Mana music, yes. Chrono Trigger, Mana, and then like all Manas. It's not just Legend, it's Secret. It's all Mana franchise is coming. Octopath, Nier, both Nier, well, all 3, Nier Original, Nier Replicant, and Nier Automata are all coming. Yeah, Chrono's going to be in it. A few others as well. I can't remember all of them. World Ends With You is coming as well. There's some World Ends With You music. It's going to be fucking perfect for this game. Like, it's getting 3 full seasons of DLC. God, I did 239 tracks, and I took Furion off for 2 tracks, so that's 241. I've played Who Brings Shadow 3 times. Can you tell I love that song? Lightning I had joined the party later on, which is why she's only done 190. And my feats, or the trophies, I've done a lot. I still need to play a remake song. I need to play a 12 song. I'm surprised I didn't do 12. A Tactics, Chronicles Dissidia, Record Keeper. If you play a lot, I think that's just playtime trophy. Play the same song a lot. I think you have to do the same song 10 times. Crit charts and standard style, I'll have to look into that. I think it's get like 10 crit charts, which is make all your hits perfect. Beat enemies, max up the star level of several characters, get your Rhythmaria rank to 50k and I think 100k as well for the trophies, which is basically your general level rank. The more you play, the more points you get. Get all the collector cards, beat more series, beat loads of quests, and I think the rest is just, yeah, beat loads of quests. God, get lots of points in an ultimate score and get lots of points with a supreme score. Yeah, the get good trophies. Ugh. Oh, and you've also got daily hits. Do 5 daily hits with a perfect chain. That's like one of the online trophies per se, because it's just the daily hits or whatever tracks are getting played the most. Like, I think a lot of people went to either 7 Remake or spin-offs, because I don't really have any. When I look through my list, none of the tracks pop up saying hits. So I think I've just gone to all the Final Fantasies that aren't as popular for music. I think a lot of people even went to 6, 7 Remake, or 14. Or maybe 9. Yeah, because none of these are saying hits on them. But that'll do from me. Tomorrow we're back on the Caligula effect. You know, the Persona, sorry. And all of its oddities, but I'm enjoying that game, so it'll be nice to vibe back with that. And then, going into next week, we're diving back fully into Danganronpa. The reason why I'm streaming tomorrow, even though I'd usually take it off, is because I took Tuesday and Wednesday off thanks to dentist and my mum. My mother wanted some time together, so I spent time with her on Wednesday instead. But this game's brilliant. I genuinely really love it and genuinely highly recommend it. If you like rhythm games, even if you're not the biggest Final Fantasy person, there's so much love, care, and attention here, you're gonna find something to enjoy. As always, I hope you've enjoyed this stream, even if we had to kind of cut it in 2 because of an internet dip. Please remember to like and subscribe, which only really goes a long way to help. My my Twitter, sorry, because I'm about to go watch some streams on Twitch probably whilst I make food. And my Twitter and Patreon in the description of every video if you feel so inclined. I will hopefully see you guys tomorrow. You guys take care now. Stay safe. Peace. Have a good one. And any